anak Malaysia, segalanya untuk anak-anak kita. Aku anak Malaysia.
Hello, good afternoon and salam Malaysia Madani. This is World Today. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Brendan Paul. Before we begin, here's a brief look at today's top stories. Japan's Prime Minister Sanae Takaichi has said she will dissolve parliament on Friday and call the national election to seek voter backing for increased spending and a new security strategy expected to accelerate the country's defense build-up. The snap vote will decide all 465 seats in Parliament's lower house and mark Takaichi's first electoral test since becoming Japan's first female premier in October. Bulgaria's President Rumen Radev announced his resignation, fueling speculation that he will form his own political party to run in upcoming parliamentary elections after the previous government quit last month. Radev has held the presidency of Bulgaria for 9 years, since he was elected president in 2016 and again in 2021. Israeli leader vowed that no Turkish or Qatari soldiers would be present in Gaza, stating that Israel has a certain dispute with the United States over the issue. He has previously expressed objections to the makeup of the Gaza Executive Board, proposed by the US. Spain's premier declared 3 days of mourning on Monday after at least 39 people were killed in a high-speed train collision in the southern Cordoba province. He also announced that 3 days of mourning will start as of tonight and pledged that the authorities will get to the bottom of the incident. Over 200 high-speed train services between Madrid and Andalusia have been cancelled and suspended following a collision and derailment of 2 trains near Adamuz in Cordoba province on Sunday evening, leaving at least 39 people dead and dozens more injured. Cancellations are expected to last several days as authorities clear wreckage and restore infrastructure. A surfer has been bitten by a shark, the 4th attack along Australia's New South Wales coastline in under 48 hours. It follows 3 other attacks in Sydney over the past 2 days, and all beaches in Sydney's northern area will remain closed under further police. Syrian President and US President stressed the need to preserve Syria's unity and territorial integrity during a phone call. They also discussed guaranteeing Kurdish rights after Damascus reached a truce with Kurdish forces. China's economic growth slowed to a 3-year low in the 4th quarter as domestic demand softened. And while the full-year pace hit Beijing's target, trade tensions and structural imbalances pose significant risks to the outlook. China's economy grew 4.5% in the 4th quarter from a year earlier, slowing from the 3rd quarter's 4.8% pace as consumption and investment dragged. Focus and discipline underpin the national para-contingent's campaign as it targets 55 gold medals at the ASEAN Para Games in Thailand, which officially gets underway today. The goal marks a step up from the 50 gold medals secured at the previous edition in Cambodia, reflecting a balanced yet ambitious strategy to sustain Malaysia's standing as a regional parasports powerhouse. Manchester City have announced the signing of Mark Gay from Crystal Palace. Gay will move for an initial fee of £20 million plus add-ons. The 25-year-old has signed a 5.5-year contract which will keep him at the Etihad Stadium until 2031. And that's a quick snapshot of today's biggest news from around the world. And up next, the complete World Today Bulletin, bringing you the details that matter. Stay tuned.
Dunia Digital penuh dengan kandungan ganas, eksploitasi kanak-kanak dan buli cyber berleluasa di luar kawalan. Akta Keselamatan dalam Talian 2025 atau ANSA dikuat kuasa untuk melindungi rakyat. Pengguna boleh bertindak atas kandungan yang berisiko. Setiap laporan yang dibuat, platform digital wajib bertindak pantas terhadap penyalahgunaan digital. Dengan ANSA, internet kini lebih selamat untuk kanak-kanak dan keluarga kita.
Welcome back. Japanese Prime Minister Sanae Takaichi said she would dissolve parliament this week ahead of a snap election on 8 February, hoping for a stronger mandate to push through her ambitious policy agenda. Takaichi said she will put her job on the line and seek the voters' judgment on whether she should remain Japan's Prime Minister after dissolving the lower house on the opening day of this year's ordinary parliamentary session.
私自身も内閣総理大臣としての進退をかけます。高市早苗に国家経営を託していただけるのか、国民の皆様に直接ご判断をいただきたい。
Following the dissolution of the lower house on 23rd January, the schedule will be set for campaigning to start on 27th January and voting and counting held on 8 February. The election would be the first since Takaichi became the nation's first female prime minister on 21st October and since the Liberal Democratic Party, LDP, signed a coalition deal with the Japan Innovation Party the day before. Under Japan's constitution, members of the lower house serve 4-year terms unless it is dissolved. Bulgaria's president has announced his resignation before snap elections in the coming months, deepening political turmoil that has gripped the EU and NATO member. The Balkan country was plunged into fresh political turmoil after a series of anti-corruption protests swept a conservative-led government from office in mid-December. Rumen Radev announced last week that a snap vote will be held after parties failed to form a new government. Radev said he is keen to take on the battle for the future of Bulgaria alongside all citizens. He added the pernicious model of governance was to blame for the poverty, protests and mistrust in institutions in the country. Speculations has been rife that Radev may take part in the elections, as he said he wants to unite all in the fight against corruption. His resignation marks the first time a head of state has stepped down since the end of communism. Radev's deputy, Ilyana Iotova, is expected to serve as interim president. The elections are expected to be held in late March or April, but no date has been set yet. Israeli leader Benjamin Netanyahu vowed there would be no place for Turkish or Qatari soldiers in post-war Gaza and reiterated Israel's objection to the composition of a US-backed advisory panel for the Palestinian territory. Netanyahu also said Israel has a certain disagreement with the US regarding the composition of the Gaza Executive Board that will accompany the peace processes in Gaza. The advisory council includes Turkish Foreign Minister Hakan Fidan and Qatari diplomat Ali Al-Tawadi, alongside other regional and international officials. The White House announced last week a board of peace chaired by US President Donald Trump. A Palestinian committee of technocrats met to govern Gaza, and a second Gaza Executive Board that appears designed to have a more advisory role. These were part of Trump's 20-point plan to end the war in Gaza. It is yet to be determined which contingents will make up the force, which will be tasked with providing security in Gaza. Egyptian Foreign Minister Badr Abdelati met on Monday with Ali Shaath, the head of the newly formed Palestinian committee chosen to administer Gaza under a US-backed deal in Egypt. US President Donald Trump said on Thursday he was backing the newly appointed Palestinian technocratic government in Gaza, where Washington has announced the launch of a second phase in a ceasefire that went into effect in October but remains fragile. The Palestinian technocratic body will have 15 members, led by Sha'ath, a former deputy minister in the Western-backed Palestinian Authority who had been in charge of developing industrial zones. Israel and Palestinian group Hamas signed off in October on Trump's plan, which says the Palestinian technocratic body will be overseen by an international so-called Board of Peace that is meant to supervise Gaza's governance for a transitional period. Now, regarding the collision involving two high-speed trains that occurred on Sunday in the province of Cordoba, Spain. Spain's premier declared 3 days of mourning after at least 39 people were killed in a high-speed train collision in the southern Cordoba province. Over 100 others were also injured after two high-speed trains collided. The Interior Ministry said 5 of the injured remain in critical condition, while 24 others, including 4 minors, were seriously hurt. More than 120 people sustained light to moderate injuries. Meanwhile, Transport Minister Oscar Puente told the accident was extremely strange as it was a straight stretch of the track and that the worst part of the accident was sustained by the Renfe train travelling from Madrid to Huelva. On a related note, over 200 trains between Madrid and the southern Andalusia region, including major cities Cordoba, Sevilla and Granada, have been cancelled after a deadly high-speed train collision that happened late on Sunday. Screens showed cancelled trains at Atocha train station in Madrid early on Monday. Rescue workers and officials could be seen on the platform while the derailed carriages laid on their sides. There were around 400 passengers on the two trains, most of them Spaniards travelling back to and from Madrid after the weekend. It wasn't clear how many tourists could be on board, as January is not holiday season in Spain. This marking the worst railway accident in the country since 2013. Law enforcement officials said they were working to clear roads after a 100-vehicle crash occurred on snow-blanketed roads in the northern states of Michigan. Michigan State Police said numerous injuries were reported in the crash, with none believed to be fatal. It happened after big rig trucks and vehicles collided on the I-196 corridor, causing many vehicles to run off the road in multiple slide-offs. The accident and the incident included 30 to 40 semi-trucks piled up and blocking the typically busy interstate road, which remains closed hours later. Officials urged motorists to slow down in treacherous conditions, with a winter storm continuing to dump snow on the region and temperatures expected to fall to negative 22 degrees Celsius. The National Weather Service said snow and blowing snow with accumulation of up to 4 inches are expected overnight, bringing the current storm total to as high as 35.5 centimeters for portions of southwest and west central Michigan. A shark bit a surfer in an Australian state's 4th attack recorded over the past 48 hours. The man was surfing on the mid-north coast of New South Wales when he was bitten by what authorities believe to be a bull shark. The surfer reported seeing a shark and emerged from the water with minor wounds on the lower part of his body. Previously, 2 people were attacked while surfing on Sydney's northern beaches on Monday. In one of those attacks, a shark bit a man's legs as he surfed at Manly, leaving him in a critical condition. A few hours earlier, an 11-year-old boy escaped uninjured when a shark took a bite out of his surfboard a little further north. On Sunday afternoon, a 12-year-old boy was seriously injured as he swam at a beach on Sydney Harbour. Scientists suggested recent heavy rain had attracted bull sharks to coastal areas where rivers emptied into the sea.
We received our first 000 call.
And coming up, Syrian US presidents discuss efforts aimed at achieving stability in Syria during phone call. Stay tuned. Welcome back. Syrian President Ahmed al-Shara and US President Donald Trump discussed guaranteeing Kurdish rights in a phone call. This is after Damascus has reached a deal with Kurdish forces, including a truce. In the phone call, Shara and Trump emphasized the need to guarantee the Kurdish people's rights and protection within the framework of the Syrian state. They affirmed the importance of preserving the unity and independence of Syrian territory and discussed cooperation on combating the Daesh group. Shara also met Mazloum Abdi, head of the Kurdish-led Syrian Democratic Forces, to discuss the agreement, which includes integrating the Kurds administration into the state. A Kurdish source with knowledge of the talks said their differences concern the mechanism for implementing the terms of the agreement. Now, Denmark is proposing that NATO start surveillance operations in Greenland with the support of the Arctic island. This matter was revealed by Danish Defense Minister Thor Lund Poulsen after meeting NATO's chief, Mark Rutte. Rutte said he had discussed the importance of the Arctic, including Greenland, to their collective security with the Danish minister and Greenland's top diplomat. He noted that they will continue to work together as allies on these important issues. Sweden's defense minister, Paul Johnson, suggested a NATO mission could be a way forward, as US President told Donald Trump insists more must be done to ward off the threats of China and Russia to Greenland. He said NATO is determining the most constructive way the alliance could contribute to the endeavor of strengthening its footprint in the High North. On a related note, key allies reacted coolly to US President Donald Trump's invite to pay $1 billion for a permanent spot on his board of peace for resolving international conflicts. The White House has asked various world leaders to sit on the board, including Russian President Vladimir Putin and Hungarian Premier Viktor Orban. The board's charter says that member countries will serve no longer than 3 years, subject to renewal by the chairman. Exemption, however, will be given to those that contribute more than $1 billion in cash funds to the board within the first year of the charter's entry into force. The initial reaction from two key allies, France and Canada, was lukewarm. French Foreign Minister Jean-Noël Barrot said at this stage France cannot accept the invitation as it is incompatible with France's international commitments and its memberships in the United Nations. A Canadian government source said Ottawa will also not pay to be on the board after Prime Minister Mark Carney indicated he would accept an invitation to join. South Korean President Lee Jae-myung and Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni have agreed to expand cooperation in sectors such as artificial intelligence, aerospace, chips and critical minerals.
C'è un altissimo potenziale che quindi possiamo lavorare per fare ancora meglio, soprattutto dal nostro punto di vista nei settori ad alto valore aggiunto. È il motivo per il quale abbiamo deciso di consolidare il nostro partenariato economico, di promuovere gli investimenti reciproci, di sostenere l'internazionalizzazione delle imprese, in particolare delle piccole e medie imprese, e ci poniamo anche l'obiettivo insieme di superare alcune barriere non tariffarie all'ingresso per i nostri prodotti.
Seoul's presidential Blue House said the country signed a memorandum of understanding for chip industry cooperation, including those related to AI. The two leaders also agreed to intensify joint efforts to develop resilient and reliable critical mineral supply chains. They also discussed collaboration in joint research projects and exchanges, tourism and culture cooperation, and reaffirmed the commitment to denuclearization of the Korean peninsula. The Blue House said Italy is one of South Korea's 4 largest trading partners in the European Union. China's economy grew at one of its slowest rates in decades last year as authorities struggled to overcome weak consumer spending and a debt crisis in the property sector. The 5% expansion met Beijing's annual target, but analysts say it was driven mainly by exports and masked weak domestic sentiment. In a sign of the work ahead for leaders, the data also showed a significant slowdown in the last quarter of the year, as expected, growing at 4.5%.
基础设施投资下降2.2%，制造业投资增长0.6%，房地产开发投资下降17.2%，全国新建商品房销售面积88101万平方米，下降8.7%，新建商品房销售额83937亿元，下降12.6%。
Data also showed that multiple industries experienced high levels of business activity in December, including telecommunications, broadcasting and satellite transmission, the monetary and financial services, as well as capital market services sectors. However, China's property sector, once a major indicator of the country's economic strength, is mired in a debt crisis, despite interest rate cuts and loosened restrictions on home buying. In sports, Malayan Tigers plays in Group A with Thailand and Indonesia. Tough challenge awaits. Stay tuned. Let's kick off our sports segments with local news. Focus and discipline are the core pillars of the national para contingent as it embarks on a mission to chase 55 gold medals at the ASEAN Para Games in Thailand, which officially opened today. The target was set as a progressive step following the success of winning 50 gold medals at the previous edition in Cambodia. It reflects a realistic yet challenging approach to maintaining Malaysia's status as one of the region's para-sporting powers. Malaysia continues to strengthen its core sports, particularly swimming and athletics, identified as the main medal contributors. Contributions are also expected from badminton, cycling and powerlifting to complement the overall target.
Sukan olahraga para ni menjadi sandaran kita lah. Satunya sebab dianggotai oleh 64 atlet, 21 pegawai. Jadi atlet yang paling ramai dalam kontingen Malaysia lah. Dan sehubungan itu memang harapan kita untuk mendapat peringkat sebanyak mungkin daripada olahraga selain daripada renang. Jadi olahraga dan renang kita anggap akan menyumbang 2/3 daripada kutipan peringkat lah. 1/3 lagi daripada sukan-sukan lain seperti camping bowling, basikal dan sebagainya lah.
In ASEAN Women's Futsal Championship, the national women's futsal squad, Malayan Tigers, has been drawn alongside host Thailand and Indonesia in Group A. Now, head coach Edgar Baldasso's side faces a tough route, particularly against Thailand, one of the strongest teams in the region. Indonesia, meanwhile, is known as a disciplined and high-intensity team demanding maximum focus from the national representatives. Group B comprises defending champions Vietnam, Myanmar, the Philippines and Australia. The group stage is expected to serve as an important early test to assess the national squad's readiness before targeting a place in the knockout rounds. The tournament is scheduled to take place in Korat, Thailand, from 24 February to the 2nd of March. Foreign sports stories. England defender Mark Gahey has officially joined Manchester City from Crystal Palace on a 5.5-year contract. The development was announced by Manchester City in a statement. The 25-year-old is reported to have completed a move for a transfer fee of £20 million. Gay said he is delighted to join the club, describing the move as the result of years of hard work. Meanwhile, City's director of football, Hugo Viana, said Gay is among the best defenders in England at the moment, which was why the club decided to secure his services. Gay was close to joining Liverpool last September and now becomes City's second January signing, following the arrival of winger Antoine Semenyo from Bournemouth last week for a reported fee of around £65 million. Moving on to tennis, former champion Stan Wawrinka lives to fight another day with a gutsy 4-set victory to kick off his final Australian Open campaign. He will take on Artur Gia in the second round. In another match, Marin Cilic also flew the flag for the veterans with a more ruthless performance. The former Australian Open finalist looked in prime form as he beat Germany's Daniel Altmaier 6-love, 6-love, 7-6. The towering 37-year-old won the opening 12 games with minimum fuss to spark chatter of a rare Grand Slam main draw triple bagel. A triple bagel is winning a match in 3 sets without dropping a game. It has been achieved by only 5 players in the professional era, the last being Sergi Bruguera in the 1993 French Open. Cilic, the 2018 runner-up at Melbourne Park, saved a break point at the start of the 3rd set to remain on track, but Altmaier suddenly clicked into gear. The German made it 1-all and in doing so snapped up a 25-game losing streak, stretching back to his 6-3, 6-love defeat by Jaume Munar in the Adelaide International last week. He will next play against Canadian Denis Shapovalov. And with that, we reach the end of our bulletin. Do join us again tonight at 8:30 p.m. on TV1 and Saluran Berita RTM. You can also stream us live on RTM Click's website and mobile application. Until next time, I'm Brendan Paul. Salam Malaysia Badani. Take care.